Charlie, I think you need to see this.
What is this?
Your wife has been killed.
I think one might say that this is an anti-James Bond movie, and proudly so. But I wonder, did you look to some other spy espionage thrillers as an instruction of what not to do?
I don't think I looked at anything for what not to do. I wanted it to feel relatively rooted and real. I wanted it to be strong on its character. I don't think I'd call it anti-James Bond necessarily, but I do think it's honest about not turning the hero into some superhero because of what's happened to him. We were really keen that we stuck true to the title, The Amateur. He doesn't suddenly become a ninja.
Are you good with computers?
I'm terrible. I feel like every time I think I've gotten on top of it, it changes, the operating system changes, things get moved around, and I think I've almost given up at this point.
The reason I'm asking is the fact that your role consists, I think, in 60% almost of you sitting in front of the computer and looking competent as hell. So I wonder if it's a difficult acting task.
You know, there's a lot of it. James may have had to kind of prompt me a few times just in the very beginning about, remember to look down. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Those are very technical things because obviously you have to look at a certain point for different things and you don't have those graphics when you're shooting it. But they were so specific about, they knew what was going to be up and when it was going to be up. So James guided us very well, which was good.
I think one might say that this is an anti-James Bond movie, and proudly so. And if it is, then you're anti-Bond girl. Is there something to it?
I don't think anti. It's a nice, lives alongside in a different lane, maybe. I mean, this was one of the things that I thought was really exciting and fun about this. It's not your typical, brawny guy who can go and beat up everybody. It's somebody who's very smart, who has to figure out a different way because he doesn't have those skills. And if he goes up against these people who are very adept at shooting and beating up people or fighting in that way, he won't succeed. So you have to find another way. And it's fun the way he did.
And this is also a question of realism, right? How much of a concern is realism for you?
Quite a lot. We wanted it to feel earthed. And an example is the set piece at St Pancras Station, where there was a version of that could be shot with swooping crane shots, but that was not from Charlie's point of view. He wasn't there to experience it. We would have had to jump somewhere else. What I liked about that was we shot a big sequence, but all on iPhones and dash cams and CCTV and body cams, which is the way we experience much of our world news. So it felt authentic. And it also provided the pieces of the puzzle for an analyst like Charlie to put together.
Did you look to some other spy movies, espionage thrillers for inspiration?
Not specifically. I mean, I've grown up watching them. My dad was a big spy thriller. He loved them and he read a lot of them as well. So I think through just watching them as a kid and everything, Inquiline she doesn't feel like anyone else that I had seen before. Which was quite nice that you could sort of create that for yourself.
And there's an accent involved.
Yes.
How do you play an accent? Is it difficult again?
I enjoy doing it. I think it's always fun. Pretty much nearly every job I've ever done, it hasn't been in my normal accent. You always say you can do it, and then they give you the job, and you're like, damn it, now I got to go do it. But I worked with a great dialect coach, and then I think I always try and find a real person to sort of model it on. And there's a great activist, Nadia Tolokonnikova. Her accent is sort of a person who lived there but has now lived outside of there for long enough that it sort of felt like, okay, that's a good model to have. So I listen to a lot of her podcasts, TED Talks, all of that kind of stuff.
And it doesn't feel like 2000s spy movie like Paul Greengrass, all shaky cam. Mm-hmm. It feels different watching your films. How would you define your take, your approach?
I'm hoping it's going to become the amateur take. I was obviously influenced by the movies of the 70s and 80s with some of the 3 Days of a Condor and the like. Mm-hmm. And I'm a huge fan of what Paul Greengrass did with Bourne and some of the best of the Bonds. My God, I love a Bond movie. So all of them play into what this genre has become. And I think it's fascinating that in 2025, allegedly after the Cold War, the genre is continuing to evolve. I think it says something about where we are as people in our paranoid state of mind, that we can throw a character like Charlie Heller into any given situation and experience an adventure.
Okay, simply, what do you like about your character? And do you feel that it's important to like the character you're playing?
I mean, I think you have to understand them. And I think you have to empathize in a certain way with them. I mean, she's a broken person, but who yet still dedicates her life to exposing corruption and bringing these things to light, when at the same time she herself has almost given up on sort of like a normal life. And I thought that difference was really interesting, and I think it speaks to a very interesting character.
So what made Rami perfect guy for the role? And was there any concern that he played a hacker before?
We were aware of him having played a hacker, and that overlaps with tech. But I think there's enough different and distinct about Charlie, and a lot of that is about the different slice of humanity, about his empathy, his role in life before that goes wrong. What makes him perfect is the combination of intelligence and intensity.
It's been said that eyes are one of the biggest features of an actor. So what you do with such an eye-heavy actor as Rami? How do you utilize him?
You go close. You be there. I have a shot that we call the headspace shot, when the camera is almost glancing down across his forehead and getting the detail of his specs and the corner of his eye. And that puts you in his thought process. And that's a way of not always being straight back at the eyes. So we chose our shots carefully to think about what we wanted the information and the mood to be at any given scene.
So what kind of an acting partner is Rami Malek?
He's brilliant. He's so generous. We had a lot of fun. He had such a crazy workload. You know, he's producing, so he would watch the rushes from the day before. He would come in, he would know, he would say to James, oh, I think we got that, or we didn't get this. Like, I think I'd love to go back and try. And it was just amazing to watch him do all of that and yet still be in every single scene of the movie practically. You know, and as a scene partner, he's so generous. He's got such an amazing vulnerability, and yet he's got this amazing intensity as well. So you just can't help but like watch. Or you're just drawn to him. So it was really fun, and I've been wanting to work with him for a very long time, so very glad that I did.
This is, of course, an espionage thriller, but it's also a story about grief, I think, with regards to your character as well. So how do you play grief?
I mean, I think, unfortunately for most people, they understand it, right? I think at some point in your life you will go through it. And I had not that long prior to that lost my father, so I understood it was quite raw, actually, when we came to film this. It's an interesting thing to explore because it has so many different stages and makes you feel so many different things, and it affects everybody in different ways, but yet it's something we can all understand. So that was part, I think, of something that attracted me to this, was exploring that and exploring where Inquiline was in her journey of it.
I didn't set out to say we're going to do a story about grief, but grief is so much part of the narrative that we very much wanted to chart that through the movie, and I think we managed to do that. Right up to the detail of that he is at a different stage of grief when he carries out the different killings, so they have a different emotional temperature.
If you jump really fast, you might survive the blast.
Wait!